but to talk a little bit more about the near universal patterns on the previous person's side,
yes,
as opposed to the subject side of the case. One that we mentioned a little bit earlier is the high incidence of violent death.
Extremely significant.
And the 50% of solved cases being ones where the previous person was identified, that is, the person that the child identifies with is actually
and
actually
I believe
lived
you
and
mentioned
found.
there's some 1,700 solved cases in the
Currently,
records at the University of Virginia.
Right. At Stevenson's Stevenson, of course, died in 2007, but his work has been continued there by Jim Tucker and others. And the files have been maintained, they're being computerized, and they now have, among 2,500 cases, 1,700 of them have been solved.
That's a lot of research.
A lot of research. When you consider that every one of those cases was investigated in the field, so they're not simply anecdotes, they're actually investigated cases. Corroborated cases. Investigated and corroborated. So,
I think, if I may interrupt, that the fact that most of the children are male is related to the fact that most of the previous persons, or at least half of the previous persons, and I think the number is 60% in the unsolved cases, suffered from a violent death. I think
that's right. Yeah, and so that no doubt is a major factor here, because there's no, at least at this point in reincarnation research, we don't know of any reason why males should be more likely to recall previous lives than females. There isn't any reason for it that we know. I mean, maybe something will emerge later.
Well, one thing you could say is that in many cultures, a parent will pay more attention to a male child than a female child.
But we also need to keep in mind, when we're talking about so many cases, although we do see that statistically, there are an awful lot of cases of girls also.
Sure.
It's not just boys. And girls who remember dying violently, for that matter. But nevertheless, there is a high incidence of violent death, which does fit well with the high incidence of males as subjects.
Presuming that males suffer more violent deaths than females.
And I think that probably we can say is true.
I imagine it is. I haven't seen the specific statistics on that, but the other issue is that women often get battered themselves. I mean, women suffer a lot of violence at the hands of males. But the other issue I wanted to bring up is that if I'm correct, that typically the previous person was of the same sex as the child. Is that not true?
Yes. If we're looking at, now we're getting into the cultural variations, though, because that is something that varies by culture. When we look, cross-culturally, globally, most of the time, the previous person is the same sex, so it stayed, the sex has stayed the same. But that does vary a lot. That is one of the most significant cultural variations, because probably because there are cultures in which it's said that you can't change sex. Now, I don't know how it is in Judaism, but among the Druze, they believe you can't change sex.
You must always remain the same sex, no matter how many times you incarnate.
That's right. You're always the same sex.
Okay.